What's up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of Undrafted Views. We're here. We talk sports from the sidelines. And in today's video, we're going to discuss whether or not the Utah Jazz should start a rebuild. Let's get into it.
The Utah Jazz are currently tied in their season series 2-2 against the Dallas Mavericks. Now, there has been a lot of speculation about the Utah Jazz and disharmony this season. Should they start considering a rebuild or just keep pushing forward?
I think they should consider starting a rebuild, but not with their core players, if it makes sense. I think the first phase would be to perhaps get a new coach. Now, I like Quinn Snyder, don't get me wrong, but perhaps his voice is stale in the locker room. He's been there for about 8-9 seasons at this point.
Mhm.
We may need a change. The whole Utah Jazz organization and their roster just may need an adjustment to the voice that they hear in the locker room. So I would say the first step would probably be to um, get a new coach. That would be, for me, that would be number one.
Okay, I think the first thing they should do is consider trading Rudy Gobert. I mean, first of all, he's simply a rebounding machine. He's the highest paid player on their
Yeah,
roster.
he is. Just signed a
Three-time
contract too.
defensive play, yeah, three-time defensive
Mhm.
player of the year. He's only 29 years old, so I think the market will be great for him. It's just that he doesn't impose his will in the paint. And I think that's what the Utah Jazz, I think that's what they're missing when you watch their games. It's like, okay, who's their enforcer? And everybody just walks right in the paint. And I think that's frustrating for Donovan Mitchell.
I think that I'm okay if Rudy Gobert stays another year, and hear me out. What we have not been able to witness is what did the trade for Hernan Gomez. What was that about, and how does that
Mhm.
integrate into this particular roster as it stands? And so I think I agree with you. I think we do miss the Jazz is missing some type of enforcer. But when Rudy Gobert is aggressive, it does work. My thing about Rudy Gobert is that I want him to expand his game to include better perimeter defense. Like, can he step out of the paint and do something a little bit different to his game? I would like to see him develop that. I think that will make him more marketable. I question whether or not the Jazz will be able to even shop him with that contract. I mean, he just signed that contract. What is it, like 5 years for $205 million?
Yes, up
That's
there.
a lot. And
Mhm.
he's not like 2026 is when he's going to be a unrestricted free agent. I mean, we're talking about a long time, long time. So I don't know if his style of play will be marketable in the league right now. So yeah, we may want to trade him
Mhm.
if nobody want him, because of his skill set, his restricted skill set. So what I'm saying is that if he does nothing else in the offseason, hopefully he can expand that to make him more marketable for other teams to want to, acquire him if the Jazz feels like they need to unload him from their roster. So I just want to see more of that. But I'm also interested in seeing what can Hernan Gomez do, because he's injured right now, and so he hasn't played that many games with the Jazz since the trade. So what will that do to the Jazz roster? At this point, for the next season, the Jazz will be doing this. Let's figure it out. That's what the rebuild is all about, right? So what we do know about the Jazz is that they are a great regular season team. But when it comes to the postseason, I mean, what Quinn Snyder has done in the past 5-7 seasons is that maybe 5 seasons is he's gotten the Utah Jazz into the postseason. But then
Mhm.
regular season success does not equate to postseason success. And I think that's the issue. So this team, as it stands, regular season, they can handle it. It's that postseason. So what does that look like for them in the postseason for next season? And I
Mhm.
think that in integrating the pieces, especially when we're talking about Rudy Gobert in his position, what can they add to? Because trading him off is not going to be enough. They got to add something. They need to add something. And I think they can do that with
Mhm.
Gobert still being on the roster.
Okay, of course. Well, I definitely agree with you that Rudy is really restricted. I mean, if you talk about this recent playoff run, game one he scored 5 points, game two 8 points, and then the funny thing is in game three he tried to get it together and score 15 points, but game four he hit the winning shot. So he gives you a little something, but it's just not enough. And I've been saying that for a couple of
Mhm.
seasons now. So I also think they should hold on to Donovan Mitchell. Absolutely
Absolutely.
do not get rid of Donovan. It is Utah, and it's hard to get a budding superstar to play there. With the young ownership now and Dwayne Wade, part of the partnership, I think it's great for Donovan. But this is a guy who's a 3-time All-Star. You can't just, obviously he has the power to say, you know what, I'm going to force a trade to a larger market. He could do that. I hope he doesn't. I hope the Utah Jazz do everything in their power to hold on to him.
I do. So I think so too. I don't want to see Donovan leave the Utah Jazz. I think he is their marquee player, although Rudy Gobert makes more money than him. I do believe that Donovan Mitchell is the focal point, and whatever he wants, he needs to get. Like that's what the Jazz need to do for him. But I'm also interested in seeing Donovan Mitchell stay. But also, I still hold firm. What can Nickeil Alexander do? Like we have pieces. They have traded for pieces when they got rid of Joe Ingles, which I think they're missing right now. And they miss
Yep.
they miss Uncle Joe. I ain't going for real. But what can these two pieces? I mentioned Hernan Gomez. What can Nickeil Alexander Walker do to help with their offense, right? And so we don't know that because both of them have been injured. I think they brought them over to kind of help remove some of the stalemate that the Utah Jazz have, but we won't see what that looks like until next season. So yes, Donovan Mitchell should stay, especially Donovan Mitchell and another young tandem in Nickeil Alexander Walker. What does that look like? And will that be the driving force to have them go deeper in the playoffs? Because the regular season they got. That's what I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think they should really expand and see if they can shop Mike Conley.
I agree. 100%.
We ain't talking
He's on
about
my
Mike
list.
Conley. He's making $21 million a year. He went
Yep.
scoreless, I think, 0 for 7 in game 2 of the playoffs. You cannot do that. Ugh,
Yep.
oh, it just made me so upset.
Yeah. Mike Connolly for sure is somebody that they need to shop. I totally agree with that. He is not giving, he's not consistent enough for what the
Mm-hmm.
Jazz need in the postseason. So yes, he's on my list as well. That is one thing they
Yeah.
need to consider about trading, and that is Mike Connolly. Yes. Can we get Memphis Mike Connolly? Can we get a little bit of that?
I
Just a,
know.
can I get a little bit of Memphis Mike Connolly in this season, in this series? Just a little bit.
Yeah, well, he averaged 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists on the season. But when you come into the playoffs, when they really need you, when it's time for you to earn that $21 million yearly salary, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. I know he's a true point guard, right? He's going to dish the ball, but Donovan needs somebody else with him in the backcourt that can take on some of the, some of the brunt of playing offense and putting the ball in the bucket. So,
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think he needs what can Jazz, how can Jazz find their Chris Paul? How can Jazz find their Chris Paul? Right? How can they find him? Because that's who they need. Somebody like that on the roster that can kind of help better facilitate. I don't know. Mike Conley is not it though. Not for the future of the Jazz, future playoff appearances of the Jazz. I would say it's not Mike
mhm.
Conley.
All right, now Jordan Clarkson, former sixth man of the year, it just feels like he's not playing a larger role this season. Maybe Quinn Snyder, if they keep him, should consider putting Jordan Clarkson in the starting lineup.
I can support that. He's already won an award. At this point, if he wanted to transition to a starting a position on the Jazz roster, I would be okay with that. What does that look like? Let's see
Hmm.
it. Let's see it. And so why not at this point? Because yes, I agree they need to do something different for next season. And next season will be starting real soon for them. So yeah, let's just get that going now.
Hmm.
I'm okay with that. I can support that. I don't think Jordan Clarkson is being utilized to his best potential this season. It just seems like he's there, but I don't know. It's kind of falling
Yeah.
flat for me just a
Yep.
little bit, and I don't like that because Jordan Clarkson he's a walking bucket. Like
Yeah.
like last season, he got the offense going when when they were a little, couldn't get it together. He would come in the game and it would just be explosive. I'm not getting that this season, and especially in the postseason, I'm just not getting it. And so I don't know.
Right.
Maybe that does have something to say with the stale voice in the locker room, right? Maybe that has something to do with you mentioned earlier about the continuity, and maybe there is some trouble that we don't know about, on the roster. It all looks good when they win, right? I
Right.
mean, you saw game 4. Was it game 4? Maybe 2, 3, game 4 when Rudy hit the winning bucket.
Yeah. Game 4.
Game 4, it's like they was just super happy. Yeah, but I'm gonna need something different. It's just not gonna be enough. And
Yeah.
anytime you allow a Luca-less team to get 2 on you, I'm done.
All right, you guys, we're going to wrap up this episode on the Utah Jazz and whether or not we feel they should rebuild. Make sure you drop your comments down below, and we will see you guys on the next one. But until then,
Peace.
peace, y'all.